Welcome back to another edition of Up West Sports' very own Hold My Trident podcast. I'm here, Gavin, with Chad. Tarek Skubal to the Mariners. That's a hot ticket. Jorge Polanco declines his option, making him a free agent, and the Mariners make a trade for Cole Wilcox. We're also going to be dropping in potential Luis Castillo trade and kind of what that looks like. But before we get to that, don't you forget.
Baseball stuff!
Wowza, Chad. We got some cool stuff to talk about. Honestly, this is our first episode back since the season ended. So I wanted to give a shout out for the Mariners. Heck of a season. It was definitely a tough way to just kind of go out, unfortunately. But you got to look back at that season and just be happy. Chad, I guess just really quick, what are your thoughts on this past year and how psyched are you moving forward into 2026?
No, yeah. I mean, 2025 season, probably the most fun I've had since. I mean, it's just easy to look at records, right? And but it's also seeing the team like totally turn it around coming out of the All-Star break, the ownership stepping up financially and did something big for Seattle Mariners fans. I felt like, and bringing in Naylor. So a lot of the like really good things happened this season. I'd say the ending to it isn't what you wanted, but the wounds are healing up about 95% away there. I don't know if that 5% I think will linger until next playoffs.
Hey, at least it's not 54%, eh? We got some really cool stuff that we gotta dive into. The discourse on this topic. Tarek Skubal to the Mariners. What are your thoughts? Initial thoughts, feelings? What does this kind of look like? Tarek Skubal to the Mariners.
I mean, I'd say heck yeah, I'll take a best pitcher in the AL, top 3 in baseball, a guy that is a true gamer, local guy. You gotta appreciate the fact he went to Seattle U. So, it's just like, what's that cost? What does that look like? What is Detroit looking to accomplish short term and long term in that trade? To like, where do the Mariners match up? I think there's definitely a route. I think they're gonna want a long or at least a controllable starting pitcher. Kirby, is that somebody who's in there with a Castillo? And then coming back is a Skubal. I mean, there's other pieces involved in that too, but I think they're going to be looking to add multiple pieces, especially stabilizing that rotation. But yeah, curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, and Tarek Skubal's a guy that warrants that. Even though there's 1 year left on his contract, there's multiple sources out there. I'm sorry I couldn't give everybody credit. There's so many sources out there that are saying that the Detroit Tigers are looking to do this, which is crazy. After the year that they just put up themselves, they gave us a dogfight for Game 5 into extra innings and everything. So incredible to see that they're doing that. So I would imagine, yeah, you're probably right. They're looking for somebody. They're looking for a package back of maybe 1 or 2 young prospects, and then 1 or 2 guys that are at least closer to MLB, if not MLB ready. And then Tarek Skubal, you have to imagine if the Mariners are engaging in talks, and I believe it was Underdog Sports that I found this out that the Mariners were actually involved in having these conversations. You got to think that Jerry and company are talking to their people and just seeing what a long-term deal looks like. Because if a long-term deal isn't at least close in Jerry's mind financially, we're getting a 1 year rental. We're getting a 1 year rental, and are you going to give up that much? We haven't seen it done in the past. It's very interesting to see the route and just to kind of navigate through it all. But if the long haul is to get Skubal and you got him moving past 2026, I think that trade starts with Emerson or Cole Emerson. Unfortunately, I think that is going to be a factor. I think there's a way you can navigate around it. It's just very difficult to navigate around not giving up Cole Emerson in that deal. I think also they're gonna target one of our young guys, one of our young already MLB guys with George Kirby, Brian Wu, and Bryce Miller. However, in my opinion, Brian Wu, I don't care who we're talking about. Brian Wu's off that table. He's still in pre-arb. He's right now. He's your ace. He's got so much in front of him. He just kind of declared himself really, really good this year. He's just not a guy I want to part ways with, especially when you have two others that could be in that conversation. So I'd like to go the George Kirby route. I'd even entertain the Bryce Miller route. It would definitely come down to what Detroit wants on that and what that just kind of looks like on their end. Now from that, there was two kind of ways that you could have gone about that. It was either all prospects or just, having a mix of Miller, Kirby, and then maybe a couple prospects. So my thoughts were, if you go with a guy like Kirby, you can follow that back up with, they're probably going to try and add in Emerson Hancock. There's probably going to be, or Emerson Hancock, Cole Emerson. I always put the first and last together sometimes. But my thoughts were that you could get out of there without Cole Emerson if you go George Kirby. There's a way. I just I don't know if they're all in it. They might just be that hard set on going for our top guy, but it could be George Kirby, Laz Montes, Feldman Celestin, and maybe even one more guy. Maybe even kind of a lower prospect, not a Luke Stevenson, not a Kate Anderson, or any one of those guys. I think those guys, not that they're off limits, you're probably going to want to try and keep those guys out of this whole thing. Chad, what are your thoughts on Tarek Skubal and that whole situation? Who are you willing to part ways with in order to get this deal done?
That's why I just don't see it happening, because the guys you're talking about, I was like, no, I probably wouldn't include them. Like Cole Emerson, I'm not moving. And I just, maybe he's also, I think there's a way around it with Detroit. I mean, they have Jace Jung, they have Colt Keith playing third base, second base. I know they have, they don't necessarily need the infielders, I guess is what I'm just trying to get at. So
Yeah,
I
they
feel
got
like you
They
could,
got McGonigal.
I feel like if you can get 3 years of control from Kirby for 1 year control for, I just don't, Skubal, like I just don't see it going much further than that. Like as far as like big time top, 100 prospects, I think they're going to be looking to fill in additional holes. What are those? I think you can look at like a guy like Michael Arroyo. Like, is there a spot for him on this roster for the Mariners? Like I'd say I'd be trying to put him in there, and he's really strong offensively, so it would really stink to lose that. But I think he's a better fit for them at second base going forward in Detroit. So I mean, do I think it's going to happen? No, I think it's a lot of. It's probably just trying to. I mean, it's a top 10 player in baseball. It's a fun, exciting guy. So it's just media beginning the offseason, stirring things up. I just don't see him as a guy that they'd move.
I think just because of the financial risk afterward, not risk, I can't say, because that guy's worth every penny that he's going to get. The financials that you have to put in motion are going to stir up that locker room, because now you're probably going to be looking at getting rid of Luis Castillo and potentially Randy Arozarena, so you can free up some space to maybe go get a couple other pieces. And so you're starting to mess with that clubhouse that was gelled so perfectly this past year, and also attacking the Naylor situation, bringing Naylor back in this whole thing. So yeah, there's just a lot to navigate, and I think I err on the side of that's probably not going to happen. Just knowing Jerry, he doesn't do these big. If he does any big trades, they're during the season. We haven't seen a ton of big name guys come in the offseason. We haven't seen a ton of big name guys being signed in the offseason. He's not a cage rattler when baseball isn't being played. So
he makes the most dials, though. He
gets the most. Oh, there's no Jerry's fingers are absolutely moving on the phone. 100%.
Him and Justin Hollander, they split it up 50-50. So that's probably why they're so nimble on that. I don't necessarily see the Mariners getting something like that done. And it just comes down to like need and want.
Yes,
Like,
it is a need want, and I try and I have the same conversation with my wife. I love her. Need versus want. Sometimes we want Sephora stuff, but sometimes we need food for our kid. No, I'm joking. I love my wife.
I was like, oh gosh, hopefully she's not listening.
No.
No,
But need versus want, and yes, Tarek Skubal is an absolute huge want. Need. No, we have a good staff as is. I'd like to find a way around it, which kind of segues me into our next topic of talking about a Luis Castillo deal and what that looks like. Luis Castillo being potentially shipped off. A couple of hot name teams that we know could be in the market that have the money that could take a chance on a veteran and pay for it. We got the Yankees, the Mets, the Phillies, potentially the Orioles. You don't know if they're trying to bounce back off of last year, and their pitching it is what it is. You got the Red Sox, who we've always been linked to with Luis Castillo and George Kirby, and then the Padres is another team that I had kind of listed on there as well, just because of they're a little bit depleted for arms. Michael King he just declined his option. He's now a free agent, so I'd be interested to see where he ends up. So with Luis Castillo, what are your thoughts? What would you aim to get back? What would you try to do? Would you try and clear up all $24 million or 22 to 24, wherever he's at? I know it's in that ballpark. Would you try and clear all that money up and restart with his financials so you can go get somebody else, or would you try and go another route with that?
I think starting now, it's like priority number one is getting Josh Naylor re-signed. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And if reports are correct, and $33 million max is what we're going to have, Josh is going to cost about $20 million. So you have $13 million to work with. I think moving Castillo makes a lot of sense. It's Castillo, JP, or Rosarina. So I kind of look at that like our starting pitching is really strong, and I thought Logan Evans and Hancock took a step forward. Maybe I don't say either of them are going to be like your number 3, 2, or 1 starters in a rotation, but they're strong number 4 or 5 guys they could be in their career. So moving Castillo makes a lot of sense. Who's that? And like freeing up $23 million allows us to go get additional pieces, and like guys that like I'll touch on like 2 that I really like, and one that I love is Jarren Duran with the Red Sox. Is he available? He's come up in just rumors, especially with San Diego. I know they've been linked on 2 different occasions. So is he available? They need to upgrade their starting pitching. They have a ton of outfielders and really young outfielders. Duran's not going to be free. Castillo, straight up, probably. I think it's like that's where it starts getting like what's that second piece either the Mariners have to give up or they take on their DH. What is his name for Boston?
Yoshida.
Yoshida. Maybe they take on a contract like Yoshida to even out the money a little bit. And then I feel like he could play some outfield, but he's probably playing mostly DH for you, which is fine. That upgrades Dom Canzone as a hitter, but an expensive DH.
I could see getting Yoshida back in that and just kind of seeing what happens. Jarren Duran obviously being a huge piece to add back in that whole thing. And I think he's getting into the point of his career. I can't remember exactly where he's at. He's year 4. So I think his ARB numbers are progressively climbing, kind of like with where George Kirby's at. So over the next couple of years, he's going to start costing you more money. And at that point in time, if you're planning on keeping a Rosarena through this potential, shakeup, by next year, maybe it's goodbye to Rosarena. Maybe it's goodbye earlier. Not that I want to get rid of him, and also not that I want to get rid of Luis Castillo. The guy there's pros and cons to a potential Luis Castillo trade, and I just wanted to at least point them out. The 2 sides of it that I see. Luis Castillo is a veteran in that clubhouse, very well liked, very well loved, and he's coming off of one of his better years as a Mariner. He had 2 years where he was you thought this was the decline of a very good pitcher. You thought this was going to be the Felix Hernandez, and he's starting to dip a little earlier than maybe you had anticipated. But he kind of came back very strong this past year. Through the 162 games, he was one of the most consistent guys for you. Now, on the flip side of that, that makes him very attractive, or at least more attractive than he was a year ago in a trade. People might bite on that and give you a Jarren Duran, for example. And so, yeah, the way I was going to look at Luis Castillo, I think there's definitely a couple routes that you can go with the higher bidding teams. One of those is the Padres. Now, the Padres, they're known to just shuffle out their prospects. They're okay with getting good prospects and just saying goodbye. We saw Leo Dallas DeVry go to the A's, and they didn't think twice about it. They got Mason Miller back. Shout out Gardner Webb, Jim Chester. I know you're listening out there, so shout out Gardner Webb and Mason Miller. But I know they could be a good partner in a Luis Castillo trade, especially with their kind of depleted. I think they got JP Sears and a couple other guys. Michael King's gone, obviously, so they could be a very good target. Now, who would we want back? Well, Estrada. They're one of their late inning guys. I'm a very big fan of. I haven't known Jerry, and Chad and I were talking about this before we got going here. I haven't known Jerry, or we haven't known Jerry, to make big splashes for big name relief pitchers, especially in the offseason. But I look at it through a different lens of freeing up the money with Luis Castillo, and then reallocate, like getting a very good late inning guy, and then also reallocating that money elsewhere. Maybe that's your money that you put down on Naylor. Maybe that money now you kind of double down and you go and try and get a Kyle Tucker, or big name, or somebody. So I'm very curious as to what a package like with that would look like to try and get Estrada. You might have to package something else in and take something. You might have to do add in Harry Ford, and this whole thing. I just wanted to also give a shout out to Jage in our group chat. Or also, if you listen to us and you're not following Jage on Twitter and X, the guy is incredible. He had this really good idea that would package Luis Castillo for this. So I wanted to give him credit for this as well. But I thought this was, now that he said it, it's out in the open for us to talk about. I am all on board to go Luis Campusano, Estrada, and then Harry Ford, and also Luis Castillo. You get your money back. You get a backup catcher that has major league experience, who's also not very old. And then, yeah, you kind of set yourself up to get that, Estrada, and also reallocate that money. So yeah, any final thoughts on Luis Castillo there, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different routes you can point at. Just we named a few different guys, a few different teams, just like high level, just names that have been thrown out there, and names we've like teams that we've kind of mentioned. But Philadelphia, Alec Baum, he's been kind of in rumors. Third baseman, is a Castillo trade, makes sense there. Baltimore, Kobe Mayo, does he have a role on that team? He plays third base. Does that make sense for the Mariners? High strikeout guy, not necessarily the direction we want to go in, but if Jordan Westberg some reason was available, sure, I'll talk to them. And then don't be surprised if you see Willie Castro's name pop up in free agency late in the offseason when he hasn't been signed yet, and we haven't figured out our third base position. I think him and Ben Williamson could actually formulate a pretty solid third base role together. So, yeah, a lot of different routes you can go on the Castillo side, but in third base. But yeah, that's kind of just my finishing thoughts.
Good. And honestly, I Luis Castillo trade until it happens or it doesn't happen, it's probably going to be a hot topic this whole offseason. So wanted to at least touch on it. Chad, thank you for your thoughts on that. The other two big things that I wanted to talk about, we got Jorge Polanco makes it official, declines his option, making him a free agent. And just between my opinion, and then I'll toss it over to Chad. My opinion, I don't know if he's going to be a Mariner next year. I think there's a really good chance that he is going to go get paid somewhere else. And listen, go get paid. You had a great year. Go get paid. I just don't know if the Mariners are looking to add to the payroll to pay a second base DH player, 10+ million, when they maybe can reallocate that somewhere else and maybe lean on Cole Young. Maybe Ryan Bliss is coming back and they rely on that, where you can get still really good production. You're probably not going to get 25 plus home runs, but you're going to get production that will help you towards a championship. And you reallocate that towards an outfielder, towards a pitcher, late innings guy, whatever you want to call it. So Jorge Polanco, big news there, but it was also, we kind of knew that was coming. Chad, what are your thoughts on Jorge Polanco?
I mean, I'd love to keep him. It just doesn't fit in the budget, at least what they're laying out for fans and what to expect. So that's the bummer, right? We operate off of a certain payroll. I'd say keeping him around with those constraints, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but second base, we have Ryan. Don't forget about Ryan Bliss. And I really loved what I saw from him before he got injured. Cole Young, obviously there. So you have the necessary pieces to fill in the second base role. I think you're definitely not going to be able to afford Gino in that equation. So you got to be looking at upgrading third base. And I'd also press the Mariners to consider upgrading right field.
Yeah. And Malin B, I know you probably commented a couple minutes ago. I completely over I didn't see it. I was looking at a lot of the tasks that I wanted to get through. But his question or their question is, do you think we can afford Pete Alonso? I think this might be the only offseason where I say they can. However, you just got to see what Josh Naylor can do in Seattle. You have no idea what Pete Alonso can do in Seattle. You don't know if he can stir up the the clubhouse in a good or bad way. I not that I don't want Pete Alonso. I don't want this to come across that way. I just think that you want to try your absolute best to go get Josh Naylor. He fits on so many different levels, and he's probably going to cost you at the end of the day less than Pete Alonso is going to cost you. And I think they're roughly the same age. I think they're both 28, 28, something like that. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Pete Alonso. I would love to have him. I think you're overpaying for a first baseman when you already have a proven one that is loved, not only in the clubhouse, but loved by everybody
younger
in Seattle.
too.
And
Younger
okay,
too.
is he actually? I thought they might have been maybe close in age, but yeah. And then the other question we wanted to get to is Ravens Bond 3. Canzone could probably be DH at a competent level. I'm not
Totally.
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. He can't be a competent. I mean, you saw him play for most of the season, and I think he ended the year batting 300. The guy definitely figured something out. I would like to see a little bit more. I'd like to see it for a second year, I guess is the best way to put it down. I like to see a history of him hitting well in the major leagues, and he's on the right track. I am all for keeping Canzone and finding a way to get him in the lineup whenever you can. But having him straight up at DH, I don't know if I'd enter the season with him as my DH. Chad, what are your thoughts?
No, I think there's definitely a scenario where Canzone's your majority DH. I think Harry Ford's going to get a lot of looks there. They're not going to just have him sit in the bench going out once a week. I think he's going to be in that rotation. But yeah, I want a reason not to play Canzone in the field. He has a good arm, I'd say overall, but just defensively, not my favorite. Really like to upgrade right field and see Robles play more of that fourth outfielder role.
Yeah, and that's man. There's so much that you can bring back or look to change. And Victor Robles, just the up and down season he's had, the injury, everything added in. Is he on a potential? I'm not saying chopping block, but is he on a potential trade block going into this offseason to free up a little bit more money to go get a relief pitcher or somebody of that caliber? Because if you're not moving Luis Castillo and you're not moving this guy and that guy and that guy, and you get Naylor and you still need a back end guy, yeah, you got to start looking at who has a few million dollars that you can move around. But yeah, Ravenspawn, thank you for your comment. Milan B, thank you for your comment. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. We're still a small podcast trying to just get this thing rolling and everything. We're really excited about the 2026 Mariners. Obviously, all of us are. Heartbreaking season, but hey, we're moving forward now. We've all had a little bit of time to grieve and watch the Blue Jays end up losing. Unfortunate for them, but man, with how much they talked, I was okay with the Dodgers winning that one.
I didn't care who won. I just wanted good baseball, and we got extra baseball.
And we got it. We got good baseball. We got damn good baseball. Final thing to really talk about tonight: the Mariners make a splash. They make a trade for Cole Wilcox of all people. Fun fact: Cole Wilcox was a 2020 draft pick out of University of Georgia. He was third round. He's 2 rounds behind our very own Emerson Hancock. So you got to understand something here. The guys are coming from the same college. They both grew up in Georgia. There's probably a good connection there. So the vibes are going to continue to run true. Sorry, Chad, I'm stealing your thunder on that one. But another stockpile arm, 57 strikeouts through 51 and 2/3, I believe, and 24 walks. ERA was just kind of there. It was at mid threes. Chad, thoughts on Cole Wilcox and making a splash in November 5th?
I am a Cole Wilcox believer. I got actually pretty excited about it when I saw the trade. I don't know what it is. Tampa starting pitcher prospects, ones that run into arm issues and get moved. I like giving them an opportunity. I feel like it's really weird too, like just how they manage their starting pitchers. In a role last year in the minor leagues, he had an uptick in his fastball too, going into a relief role. So Cole Wilcox, really like it. I mean, his biggest Achilles heel is just walking guys. And you've seen the Mariners being able to transform those kind of pitchers. So DePoto up to his old tricks, going dumpster diving for relief pitchers and back end starting pitchers. So I always love this part of the offseason. And, you love the fact that DePoto was the first one to strike.
Yeah, and I'm a big stockpile fan. Jerry does it pretty much every single year. I'm always a fan of bringing more major league type level talent in, especially from the Rays. The Rays have done a phenomenal job with their development. And, somebody once told me, hey, you take a Rays player out of the Rays organization, they're probably not the same. I'm okay with taking a chance on a Rays guy because what you have in Seattle, right? It's more of a pitcher's ballpark in history. It's more of a pitcher's ballpark. I'm okay with erring on the side of somebody who has developed the right way and taking a chance on them and just seeing what they got.
And Wilcox, I mean, back when he was considered a prospect, like 2 years ago, he was a top 10 prospect for the Rays. So, I mean, he has ability. So it's not like we're going to have to fully transform a guy. He's a guy that's actually performed really well in the minors. He's also had the injury bug too. So, looking forward to following Wilcox and see what he does for us.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to more trades from Jerry this offseason. And honestly, just more news. We're still at the beginning part of this stage of the offseason. But before you know it, it's going to be March, actually February. Games are starting in February nowadays. Before you know it, it's going to be February. We're going to be watching the Mariners down here in Arizona, in the state that I live in now, and just being ready to go for 2026. Couldn't be more fired up. Chad, thank you again for joining. And just remember, life's too short. Gas up your boys.